There's some water soaked down there. Never burn. No. Remember that big log jam down there in Sling County and right off 135 and Sling Road? On the west side of I-35 on the Sling Road. It was one hell of a big log jam down there. They was gonna burn it, but they couldn't get it to burn. I think they finally took dynamite out there and split it up, broke it up. But it's just soggy, you see it.
It's one of the floats in.
I know.
Excuse me.
It floats in the water, not on the water. But there's all kinds of dead stuff, it's just accumulated.
Don, do you happen to know, is this Campbell and Johnson bill a complete total, or is it in addition to what has been paid, or is it?
I did look at it.
Okay.
It's in addition to what's been paid. He said he would
Final
bill us.
bill.
It's a final bill?
I believe that's correct.
Are you ready, David?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate that. I was looking around and couldn't go.
I saw you. Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you folks today?
Wet.
Yes.
You do anything about that?
Asked it to slow down, but Mother Nature will not accommodate. Last week when I was here, I had made you guys aware that the tie rods on the front of my vehicle, the 2009 Silverado pickup, was going to need worked on, replaced. Tires are getting messed up on the front end because of the tie rods. This is a quote from S&S that I had received, just asking for permission to go ahead and have that work done.
I don't have a problem getting the work done, but with the cost of it, I'm wondering if we ought to get another
estimate?
estimate. Yeah.
Okay, I can go out to Kiefer's yet today and,
Yeah, I think let's get another estimate. I mean,
Okay.
we need to fix it, but I think that we're getting to a number here that we probably ought
okay,
to open it up.
okay.
What's protocol for the county? How many bids?
Well, we
Estimate?
usually try to get 3, but you can't really get 3 here on a lot of things because you'd have to go out of town to a shop to do it, so. But I think to be fair,
Okay,
But yeah, if there's more than one person in town doing it, we've got
Okay.
to give
Alright.
both of them a chance.
okay. Then in addition to that, the amount of rainfall we had this past week, flooding location Saline crested at 29.7, Salt Creek crested at 23.45. Flooded roadways impacted were 220th Road, 233rd Road, 215th Road, 310th Road, Highway 284 east and west of Barnard, 270th Road, 295th Road, and Milo Drive. Ash Grove area was also impacted as well as southwest of Lincoln. Had communicated with Public Works Director O'Hare, referenced the conditions of the roads, and he asked that I approach the commissioners about signing a disaster declaration. The state hasn't enacted anything yet, but because of the amount of rainfall this past week, and it wasn't just Lincoln County, but he thought that we might want to have that in place in case the state does do that.
is the last one we did outdated as far as
It was a
adding
10-day,
to
it was a 10-day
That's what I
cycle
was
is what that
thinking.
lasts for, yes.
What is the state's response to something like that? Whenever, like the last time that we signed a declaration?
And again, it takes the state's disaster declaration threshold is $4.6 million. So as long as there's a cumulative assessment from all the counties within the state, if they meet that threshold, then they will go ahead and sign a state disaster declaration, and they usually want the local ones from the counties done to be on board with that.
So then, is that forwarded to the federal level for additional?
Yes, correct.
And was that total exceeding 4.6 million from the last one we did?
No,
No.
and it was not,
So
no.
potentially this time, you're saying,
There could be, yes,
There are other part of the states that had substantial floods.
yes.
so it benefits us to do the report, and
Re-
we'll declare.
And
the
have it in
declaration.
place,
Mhm.
correct, yes.
Worst case scenario, the state doesn't reach the 4.6.
6, and it's irrelevant then, at that point.
We have
Do you have
utilized.
that ready?
I have copied, I don't have numbers or anything, but I can run and get one for Dawn.
You might be able to.
Okay,
We're pretty open today, so
okay,
if we need to come back, you can.
okay.
Actually, I think we'll have to go up and look because I think the last one might not have been
Okay.
Wait.
saved.
You can come back anytime.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
Oh,
find it
well.
and bring it back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Okay, are we ready to do the minutes? Did you look at the minutes?
Yeah.
Have any corrections or additions?
Under OCCK, I think we should also add, the same as we did with Central Kansas Mental Health, that they were requested to provide a per capita breakdown of expenses for Lincoln County. And they had relayed that they would be able to do that. So I think that's important that we follow up on that.
The request was made, so I guess I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, specifically,
You wanna look back in what you wrote when Central Kansas Mental Health was there, Dawn? Or can you down here?
yeah,
Terry may have it.
I don't think we.
I don't know if I wrote in one.
Yeah, I don't have the approved minutes, but basically, I requested a per capita breakdown of expenses, OCCK expenses for Lincoln County. Because they gave a report that said a number of people and the services provided, but not the expenses that went into it.
Okay, when we did Central Kansas Mental Health, we added that Marshall was requested to provide Lincoln County statistics for use of the program. That's
Yeah.
what Chris had me modified. So I don't think that's necessarily the same thing.
Right, I agree.
Okay. What just happened? So OCCK. I am ready. What do you want?
You can put my name in there if you want to do that, but I requested a per capita breakdown of OCCK expenses for Lincoln County.
Are you done, Don?
Yep.
Anything else?
I move to adopt the minutes as corrected.
I'll second.
Move and second to adopt the minutes. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. We had a thank you from, what happened to the thank you? We could pass that around. From the Fair Board, from the money distributed from the Webb Farm to buy picnic tables. Are you done with these? We also had a final invoice from Kimmel and Johnson for $15,614 for the work they have done. I might say that it appears that we are going to probably have to purchase a generator for the nursing facility this fall, which is going to require extensive rewiring, is the way I understand it. I think probably it would be wise for us to consider Kimmel and Johnson, since they've done some of the early legwork for that. I believe they estimated around $750,000 it's going to take to bring the building into code and get the generator up and going. I believe that. I don't have that number in front of me, but I was thinking it was around $700,000.
I think part of that was tied to the remodel though, so
Yeah.
it may be considerably less than that.
Also, from reading the paper, it appears that John Grace and the city may be moving forward with greenhouses, which will change the complex of the nursing facility substantially, I think. And so I think as we consider doing a generator for that place, we need to be in mind that there may be some changes in the use of that building. We do need some office space for county employees. We are running out of room at the emergency shed between the fire and the ambulance service. So I think those are probably areas that we can think about in the future. If that building goes to completely assisted living, we won't be using the 63, they won't be using the 63 edition. They'll only use the 73 and the 90 edition for assisted living, so. Today we will hopefully enter into an agreement with Lincoln Park Manor for a lease. I think the lease, a copy of the lease that Tenny that was given to us is a 3-year lease. Of course, if those greenhouses come up before the 3 years, there will be some modifications to that lease. Will have to be some modifications to that lease. Do either others of you have any comments on that?
No, I think because Campbell and Johnson has already been in the facility and has already started the work on the electrical part and stuff, I think they would ought to contact them about doing the generator job, rather than starting fresh with someone else. Would you want to make contact with them, Al Joe, to see if they are interested in the project? generator project?
I don't mind doing that, but I'm not sure we're at that point right now yet, are we? I don't know.
I'm wondering, do we have to, excuse me, do we have to get out of the current contract? And if so, did you happen to ask?
Out of the current contract, I think we are out of it, the way I understood him. He indicated to me that I told him to bill us for what he had done, and he said he would stop, and that we would be. And I told him, he asked that if we did anything that they be considered, and I said we would highly consider them, because they had been, I think, extremely kind to us in what they've done so far, or what situation has developed.
We can check on that, we can find out for sure. I think, right at the moment though, my point was, Al Joe, just to see if they express an interest in doing it.
Okay.
Not necessarily to sign a contract with them at the
Okay.
moment, but to,
Is the generator requirement required for assisted living if the nursing home isn't there?
no, but it won't be assisted living within the time before November, so the deadline, I believe, is in November on the generator. We can check on that for sure, but I believe that's the case. But I think there will be some changes to the design of it because of the fact, that it may be going that direction, I think. But we'll know, I would think, within the next couple of months for sure where Mr. Grace is going with his greenhouses, I would think, so.
I guess the other thing, if that's being used as a community shelter during disasters, it's almost imperative that it have a generator probably. Or it isn't going to be a very good community shelter if we don't have electricity there and the town's blown away, or part of the town's blown away, and we need places for residents. I mean, I guess that's...
Well, we've been planning for a generator for
Yeah.
a number of years and putting money back for it. Did a study on it, probably, 7, 8 years ago, 6 years ago.
So you want me to visit with Eric?
I do. I'd like to just touch base with them.
I think an appropriate question would be, in the plans that we've already paid for, that he's prepared, how much of that can he utilize, to assist in that process of putting the generator in, and what electrical components are associated there?
I would assume that there is part of that in there, I would guess.
I would
They
think
would start with
so.
I guess.
Because
I'm
it
sure
says
they would-
plans on that bill.
They would start with the mechanical on the project, I'm sure, so.
If you have no problem with it, I would rather do that face-to-face, travel to Concordia to meet face-to-face with him than doing it over the phone.
I don't have a problem with that.
I understand that.
And if it dries up, that may be a problem. But as long as it's wet, and Howard will spray my thistles, I can do it.
I don't think you're gonna get in your tractor.
Can you do it, Howard? Spray my thistles?
Oh, we gotta let them grow for seed for the
Oh, okay.
Everybody get out of a job then. Probably we don't need more seed.
I remember thistles, first time I saw thistles was in northeast Kansas,
That's right.
in Brown County, 1954. I was just a little guy and it was way over my head. They don't even have them up there now unless it's along the highway.
Why didn't you dig it up?
We didn't even know what they were then.
Oh.
They were terrible. They've been around a long time.
I've seen them pretty terrible in spots around here.
I have a hayfield that, I don't know, 20 years ago, we probably had hay there. And I dug thistles and dug thistles out of that hayfield. And then we took it out of hay and we farmed it. 2 years ago, we put it back into hay. And those darn thistles are coming up everywhere in the hayfield. Now, why would they still be coming up? Because we kept it clean. But I noticed this morning, it's got up above the alfalfa now.
I have a lot, piece of property here in town that's growing thistles. I spray more on it than I do
Well, I can show
thistles
you
that,
lots you can't walk through across from McCullough, Delaware.
or the residents on the cell tower over there maybe are spreading some around. I don't know.
They finally did something, but it was too late last year. They'd already went to seed.
Yep. They're easier to see when they bloom.
I can see them in my neighbors better than I can see them on me.
Yeah. Your neighbor can see them on you better than he can see them on his own too.
So, can I talk about old business?
Sure.
Absolutely.
What do you need?
Well, this statute that Alexis gave us the other day, I contacted Bud Cowan, our attorney assist hotline, and he wanted me to remind you that it says give opinions and advise. That does not mean demand presence. He says opinions does not mean appearance. And I think that the question that we had was whether or not you could require her to be present at every meeting. Not that she isn't going to provide services that we ask or that we contact her for. So if you guys would like his number to actually call and visit with him, I would be happy to provide that to you. I just wanted to make
Sure,
that clear.
I'll take the number and I'll readdress it because what you told us is that we have no county council. That is what you said. And you said that we have no agreement with the county as an appointed county councilor.
No,
So
that's not
She
what I
said,
said.
she
That
said
is
we
what you
didn't
said.
pay.
That is not what I
She
said.
said that we didn't pay.
We did not pay the county attorney as a county
and
councilor.
I asked you, do we have any paperwork regarding having a county councilor appointed? And you said no.
Which
do we?
do not.
Okay.
But
so-
that is not what you just said there. So I just want to clarify, because apparently on Facebook you put that I provided you misinformation. I did not provide misinformation. What I said and what I stated was that you do not pay the county attorney to be the county councilor, so therefore, and maybe I left this part out, requiring her to be present every Monday at every meeting for 4 hours is a little excessive. And that if you want her to be here, then maybe you should consider paying her.
That is not
So I'm
what
clarifying.
that is not what was discussed. What was discussed
No,
was
it is what was discussed.
no, it's not.
Yes.
She sent an email to the board which I read, and it clearly said that she has not been attending commission meetings regularly, and she stated the Kansas statute that that is about an appointed county councilor's duties, okay? And so when I said that I was worried about the lapse in time between when we've asked for information about council and then when we're making decisions at the table, she had stated in her letter that if we wanted that to change, if we, the board, wanted her to be physically available, she would do that if we made that motion. And I made that motion. So what you told us is that we don't have a county councilor, that there's no paperwork for an appointed county councilor. Therefore, that statute about an appointed county councilor has no bearing on anyone in this county. The statute that does apply is the one that I gave you because the county attorney, as an elected official, still has an obligatory duty to the commission.
To provide opinions and advice.
Right, and so what I brought to the table was she was providing us opinions and advice after we were making decisions. And she clearly stated in her own letter addressed to me and you got a copy, and these people got a copy, everyone on the board. So what her letter said was that she would be willing to make appearances if we requested that of her, and I did.
Which you did, yes.
Right.
And your motion was to have her present at every Monday meeting. And that's when I stated that that was a little excessive.
No, you said that if we wanted to do that, we would have to pay her.
You would, because that is a little excessive. So, I'm just clarifying.
For you as the
All
county
I was
clerk,
discussing about was her being present at every meeting for 4 hours a day.
for you as the county clerk to tell us what the county attorney would demand from us financially is not appropriate.
Another thing I would like to clarify is I've been asked numerous times about this referendum. It will cost money to have a referendum. It will cost. I'm gonna get ready to build the city, or the school district, approximately $6,000 for their special election that they just had. Okay, that was only a portion. So now you're talking probably for the entire county, a cost of $10,000 to have an election in which you three are elected to make decisions for. So I am sorry, but when you start preaching on your Facebook page about the cost and the amount of money that we are spending, I am sorry, but $10,000 for you guys to make a decision is not necessary, in my opinion. But that is approximately what the cost would cost. I'm gonna estimate between $8,000 and $12,000, depending on whether or not you would choose to do a mail-out election or you would not choose a mail-out election. And when people come in my office and ask me that, the look on their face is completely and utterly astonished. They cannot believe that we would even consider going to that form of a cost, especially, number one, it's not even been budgeted. We don't even have the money in the fund to do something like that. So that's all I'm going to say about that as well. I just want to clarify and make sure that everybody understands that there would be a cost to bring that to a vote.
I wasn't aware that the county clerk made budgeting decisions.
Where would you take
I'm
that
not,
money?
I'm not gonna spend $10,000 on a referendum. So, I would have one vote in that decision, regardless of what the county clerk said, but.
In the context of this discussion, $30,000 was just spent that was not budgeted on Campbell and Johnson. And that entire issue has completely changed because the business has been or is being sold. So lack of foresight, in my opinion, or not searching for all options has cost us a grave amount of money. And to put something to a public vote as to whether or not we are going to continue to spend money or spend a massive dollar amount for this potential renovation, you're talking pennies in the bucket. Everyone was willing on this commission, I assume, to go forward with a $2.5 million renovation, but not a $10,000 election to ask the public if they wanted to spend $2.5 million. What is the percentage of $10,000 on $2.5 million?
Well, my point is I am in charge of the election fund, and I am in charge of the county clerk's fund. So therefore, you guys would be inserting the fact that I would be overspending, and then I would be held accountable to the voters. And quite frankly, that's not fair. That is not fair for you to say, well, we're going to go ahead and do this referendum, and we don't care what the cost is. Well, I care because it's my budget. It's my budget that I bring to the table and I approve. So if you want to fund it from a different source, then you tell me what source you'd like to fund it from.
I understand your concern about budget constraints. I truly do, and I appreciate you bringing that to the table. What I don't appreciate is you saying what you think the commission should do as far as budgeting or asking for public opinion on decisions that are expensive.
I'm allowed to my opinion. I'm a citizen. I'm a tax-paying citizen. I'm allowed to ask that question. I'm asking it as a person.
Again, and if we had a proper forum where we had an agenda that allowed a speaking
I just
time.
asked if I could speak about old business, and they said yes.
David, are you here with your numbers?
I move to adopt an agenda based on parliamentary procedure.
Motion dies for lack of second. David?
That's a disaster declaration number that the clerk's office gave me upstairs.
Okay.
I move to adopt resolution 2017-12 and proclamation.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
That's good for 10 days too, from that date.
I thought it was 10, but on the bottom it says 7. On the bottom of it, it says 7. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Since we have no appointments on the agenda, I'd be glad to continue discussing old business. Here's the letter that was received from County Attorney on February 8th of this year. Dear Aljo, Terry, and Alexis, I have attached herein for your review the Kansas state statute that sets forth the responsibilities I have as county councilor for Lincoln County, Kansas. I have always made myself available when needed to discuss or assist with county business. I assume that this will remain the norm and it will not be necessary for me to attend the entirety of the regularly scheduled commission meetings. If this has changed, please advise, as it will be necessary for me to change my schedule. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. And she annotated here KSA 19247, duty of county councilor. In response to this letter, I expressed concern that we had motioned for county council on issues and had not received that council in time to make decisions at the commission table. Therefore, in response to this letter that invited me to ask her to come regularly and provide input, I made the motion to do so. At that time, I was informed that if we wanted to do something like that, we would have to pay extra. And I brought in another Kansas state statute, which is applicable to the position that we actually have. We do not have this position for county councilor that is appointed separately from the county attorney. At this point in time, our county, we have an elected official, county attorney, which also serves under the Kansas state statute that was either last week or the week before, I can't remember. And what that says is that there is a duty to provide counsel. My concern was not that the counsel wasn't being provided at all, it was the timeliness of this situation. That was the reason for my motion to attend. I will further say that I am concerned that it was expressed by the commission that you have no problem making decisions before the council has been sought. Even though we have made motions to seek counsel and ask for counsel in executive sessions, but we continue to make decisions before that has happened. I'm concerned that that is acceptable to this commission.
I realize that you're new, Alexis, but a lot of this is routine stuff that we've been doing for years. And it's never been brought into question before. There's a thing called home rule that allows us
For
to,
years and years and years. How about something new? How about doing what we should be doing? I mean, you know, I understand, I have respect for both of you, I'm not disrespecting anybody, but I just think it needs to be a little more everybody involved in this. I mean, you know, it really feels like the decisions are being made by two people and that's it, and it's always been that way, and from the people I talk to in the area, it's always been that way. That the community doesn't really have a say-so. You know, they're not involved and they don't feel like they are. A lot of
I would venture to say that you could go back through the minutes for the last 15 years and look at the votes on issues, and I would bet you that 99% of the time it's unanimous.
Well,
It's not 2-1, it's unanimous.
The primary example is that we requested in executive session to receive counsel on conflict of interest for the web fund, because it has been set up in this county that we have a web fund that controls we have a web committee that controls the interest on the web fund. And in this design, one of the county commissioners sits on the web fund committee. Now, given a vote in the committee and then being given a second vote on the same issue as a commissioner is definitely a conflict of interest. And we still have not received counsel on this issue yet. We have voted through approvals for money requests for these grants out of this fund. And I'm not saying that I have a discrepancy with the funds that were given out and to what organizations, but the discrepancy is we should really find out if there is a legal consequence of having the same person vote on spending the same money twice.
I don't think that person has ever been a deciding vote.
That is not
On
the
either
issue.
side.
I would say the same thing if it were myself on the web fund committee. It doesn't matter who it is on the commission. The problem is that there are two votes on spending the same amount of money. And it was actually brought to our attention that this is a conflict of interest by the public. So I feel that we really need to address this. And that is just one example. I mean, we are expected to sign a lease today, potentially lasting for 3 years, and we have not had any significant amount of time in council regarding the options. In fact, we were given a lease prepared by the other party's attorney, and there were minor changes made by our own attorney, but we're expected to potentially sign this today without having a real counseling session or preparing our own lease and then combining the two. And that is not a typical practice when engaging in a business compromise, if I could use that word.
2 weeks ago, we discussed that lease in executive session with our council.
We had received the lease that day.
No, she emailed that lease out several days before the
Well, it
meeting.
was that weekend, but it was that commission meeting that the lease was first presented. And I understand there is a time constraint
But
because the lease
it's also a
has
fairly
expired.
basic lease that basically follows previous leases.
It follows the previous lease, which has not indemnified the county to any extent and has put the greatest amount of liability on the county with no particular recourse for the other partner in this business arrangement. And that concerns me because I believe that it is our duty as the commission to protect the county, not to serve the interests of particular business parties that are within the county.
You're entitled to your opinion, Alexis, but there's 3 opinions on this board, so.
want you guys to vote on parliamentary procedure when every other meeting that anybody goes to involves parliamentary procedure? I'm just curious, like, the LCCOA uses.
We have a format that we think functions well for us because it allows people to come in here, allows you to comment right now. Otherwise, if we're gonna go to this comment session on old business and stuff, this comments from the audience while we're conducting business is gonna stop.
Right. I'm
So
okay
what
with
do you
that.
gain? What do you gain?
I don't
We
gain
allow
anything.
your comments throughout the entire meeting for the most part.
Which our own clerk told us is not efficient for her to be able to do her job. And I have suggested a remedy.
Do you think that, what are you gonna gain from it? You're gonna have all those comments at the start of the meeting, and then they're gonna sit through the entire meeting and not be able to comment on anything that we discuss.
Then why not?
What are you gonna gain?
Every time there is an action taken, there is to be discussion offered. Not only between the decision makers, but you offer discussion from any person attending the meeting.
No, you don't. You need to watch the video of some of the other county meetings. You'll find out that that's not true. They do not ask for comments from the audience.
Upon discussion, you may open discussion to
You
anyone.
may open. We do usually.
Well, I guess I really just think you guys should definitely give it a second thought. Don't be hasty. Like, really think about one parliamentary procedure just because, you know,
I have
that's the-
considered it. Don, do you have any idea if Jennifer's available?
I do not, but I can go ask.
See if she can come in at 10:30 or something. We have a pretty big opening there, right there, Bale.
That's a good idea. I'm also concerned, there was a statement made by our county clerk that we hadn't budgeted for an election, which I understand. We had also not budgeted every year for the past several years for the extra expenses incurred on the business venture that we are dealing with as landlords of the nursing home. Now, given that situation, I am not allowed to tell you exactly what's in the lease that is being discussed, but I can tell you my opinion of it, and my opinion is that it is very similar and entraps the county in the same situation that we've been in. And should this potential project have a less than perfect outcome as far as transferring all of the residents, that are currently in the home into their new facility, and we are left in the same position again, as I said, the liability falls on the county to not only spend an exorbitant amount of money because there is an expectation that things are kept up to state statute, which haven't been done in all of the years that the county has owned the building. But I mean, obviously at first it was in accordance with what needed to be done by the state statute. But however, over time, lack of funding and lack of budgeting for that has led us to the situation where we're facing potentially gross amounts of money in order to update and or renew or upgrade. So if we do not get the residents moved into a different facility, then we're still facing the same situation that we did. And under the terms of a new lease that is modeled after the old lease, there will be no change. And if that is the case, and the clerk voiced her concern about budgeting expenses, we should be looking at budgeting a lot more money toward the nursing home line item, which comes out of the general fund. The other option would be to do a separate mill for that, as we do the hospital. But again, we're looking at two separate situations, because with the county hospital, we have a board, and it is also a nonprofit situation, so there's a clear difference there. My concern would be signing a similar lease without having any physical records of financial security on part of the business. I know anytime that an individual seeks to sign a lease or requires some kind of tax dollar subsidy, they must offer proof of income, proof of financial stability to some extent, so that loaning, the proponent of loaning can be validified. A background check, things like this, credit checks are also in order. And to sign a lease without having any other documents, I believe, is of concern and not of the highest professional quality that we can provide, especially watching over taxpayer money. Those will be some of the things that I will address if our county council can make it. I expect she's attending the 11 o'clock session today when the nursing home arrives. However, I'm not sure that they are arriving prepared with financial statements of any sort. It is also my understanding that the county had never seen any financial statements through all of the years of being in a lease contract with the current business. Is that right?
I don't remember seeing any, no.
She'll be here at 6:30.
Thank you.
There's Beth's number.
Thank you. I'm still under the impression that the commission members, besides myself, believe that owning the facility is a direct way to influence quality of care. And I'm wondering, with the given circumstances of the lease that is in place, modeling the new lease after that lease, which states that the business who rents the facility has autonomy over its activities, how then is the commission able to control or have oversight regarding quality of care?
I think we discussed this a month or more ago. I think, you know, if you want to discuss the same things in old business every week,
Well, until they get figured out.
We discussed it already. You were sitting here.
I know, but it's the same question, which I'm still
The same
Still
question with the
confused
same
by it.
answers.
confused by because it doesn't. They're
Yes, Deborah?
Just because you don't agree with the answer doesn't mean that it hasn't been answered.
I got one here, Deborah.
Oh, thank
Is
you.
Michael coming?
No, Michael's
No.
gone today, so I said I would come with Bob.
Good morning.
Morning. Yeah, he had to meet out the Coburn Bridge project. KDOT and them are having some issues about cement and stuff, and they wanted to get straightened out before they started pouring the deck and stuff.
They're ready to pour?
Well, no, they got the piers all done, but they'll have to put all the false work in ready for it to pour. But they're trying to get ahead. I guess they're having some problems with trying to get cement here on a timely order and stuff. So they're trying to work out a plan how they could improve the efficiency of getting that poured on a continuous basis. So, yeah.
Do you wanna start with this?
Yeah.
One of, go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, Debbie come along about our part-time employee here, our internships over, and he gonna work this summer, so we're kinda gonna go over what we gonna need to do.
We had talked about that if it worked out, that we wanted to keep him through the summer, and it is more than working out. He is doing a great job. Bob and Michael both said that he seems to have a real aptitude, a real, for the work. He's doing a terrific job. Right now, he's running one of the blade routes, and he's really doing great. And they want to keep him through the summer, kind of just make him part-time or have work available. He'd work when he's on break from school, whether over Thanksgiving or Christmas, but he is enjoying what he's doing. He's doing a terrific job for us. So
He's going to go to school next year,
Yeah.
or plans to.
he plans to. Michael said he wished that he would because he's doing such a good job, but I think that he feels it's important to get a second year of education behind him before he goes out full-time into the workforce.
Is his internship up?
It is,
Yeah.
it is up.
Yeah.
So we would like to keep him, he would like to stay. We're hoping that you'll agree with that. We'll need to, if you do, we would need to change his status from an intern to either seasonal or probably part-time. Because Dawn reminded me this morning that we really don't call him seasonal anymore. We do, oh, Bob.
You have a wage there?
I do.
I don't know whether it come out, did it or not, did it?
Yep, you did. Because I put seasonal and it should be part-time. Because we really don't call them that anymore. And he really would just be, because he'll come back. He'd like to come back. Michael said if there's work. If there's not, then Dalton understands that there wouldn't be. And the starting wage for that position is $12.30, so.
12:30.
It would be no benefits. If he works enough, he might earn some leave time, but other than that, he won't qualify for anything else.
Free employment.
So he did that before, yep. None of our part-time employees have benefits. They get some benefits, not health insurance, not retirement. Basically, they receive some leave time, some holiday pay. It's very minimal. So what's considered part-time? Anything less than 40?
1,000.
1,000.
Yeah. We try to keep them under 1,000. That way they don't qualify for capers and they don't qualify for health insurance. And it helps to save some money. Did that make sense? 1,000 hours a year. That's the caper threshold. They say if they work more than 1,000 hours, then I slide capers. And as a cost saving, we try to keep our part-timers under that. If he's on board, I move to change his status to part-time from intern. Thank you very much.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Change Garrett, isn't it Garrett?
Dalton.
Dalton Worth to part-time. Any questions?
Okay.
12:30. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Because he's working today.
Motion.
I do have a question. Is that part-time starting pay the same as our full-time
We-
entry level?
We start them the same, the difference is that the full-time people also get
their
benefits on
benefit.
top of that and whatnot. Basically, after they're here 30 days, they qualify for holiday pay, and holiday they get half what the regular employees get. And if they work at least half the available hours, then they do receive half of the leave time. And other than that, there's not a lot that we
Yeah.
offer a part-time person. Most of them seem to be okay with that. Does that help?
Cause
Yeah,
he's asked something about if it'd be able to take off some time once in a while, and they're not. I would guess maybe he wanted to help his folks harvest or something like that a little bit, so I said, we couldn't see a problem with that.
Everyone else does.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
You know.
I'll let you finish up.
Okay, thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, Debbie.
Okay,
Uh,
where do you start?
Where do I start? It rained, it rained, it rained. 40 days and 40 nights.
Almost.
Somebody this morning, I said, I'm ready for May to get over with because I don't think it'd have any weekends. I haven't seen a weekend yet. I haven't been out and worked all weekend. But yeah, haven't been able to get a whole lot done because of all the rain. We've been patching some washout on some bridges and pipes and stuff. We did get some of that. Started out this morning, then it started raining again, and didn't want to dig out another bridge. The one right west of town here is caving in behind the dirt boards there, so we were going to dig it out this morning, but then it went to raining. Well, we better hold off on it. So. But other than that, just trying to keep up with all the flood damage and stuff we're having here. Yeah. Like I said, Michael's out there at the bridge, and on the Coverman's there. They pretty well got the Pepper Bridge done up there. I don't know, Michael met, and the inspectors met up there today. There was kind of looked like Saturday up there.
Salt Creek,
No, that's
Rattlesnake.
Rattlesnake.
Uh-huh. We got a few issues there. I don't know whether we can get them worked out or not. The water's running a little different than we'd like to see it. They've cut ditches and they're kind of forcing the water a different direction than what it has been going. I think we're going to have some erosion problems later on, so. And Hardo was kind of hollering about that because, too, the other day, their Pepper's entrance they put into his house, there never was a pipe in there. The water always just drained from his drive east. Well, they got that entrance in there, and the water was up there today. It was running through there, running on east down and coming out that other pipe on the road down there across this field now. So it may get to be an issue there later on. But we'll just have to see as time goes, and hopefully we don't have another spell like this for a while. So,
They didn't go over the bridge, though.
no, it didn't go over.
Did it go over the roads?
No, it never got over
It never
there.
got over the roads,
It went over the road as you turn back west and go north on that stretch there. It was going over the road up there and coming back down through that, yeah. The rest of the road it didn't get over. And boys are here. There's some up there, heading up there this morning, or move up there, that's on Union, up there
Is that what?
between 50th and 30th up through there. I think the first one's probably below the Prairie Dog village there where that dam washed out, and then there's others going on up towards Whackers there. It went over up through there. Started up there to see if we could pull some stuff up and get it fixed back.
How many people did you have out over the weekend?
Oh, there's about 3 or 4 other boys. I ran around, and some of them, Johnny and Ron mostly was over at Barnard setting up barricades trying to get ahead of the high water over there and stuff. And I think Michael was down south here a little and back over here, and I went up that way and back around down south here by the river where it was going across down here on the county line. So, yeah, we've been.
I would like to thank Michael for coming up to my area and looking at the problems that I've been speaking about in the middle of conversation and stuff. I hope that when the weather gets dry enough that there might be some ways that they can do some patching on some of that stuff. But I do appreciate him finally coming up. That's the first time I've ever seen him up in that area.
Yeah, I think
And I'd
there's
like to
some
thank
pictures
Alexis
of
as well.
Mary's road there she's talking about. When I was up there Saturday.
Mary, we signed a disaster proclamation, and David Dohe had reported that the Ash Grove area was included in that.
Okay, thank you.
There's Goose Lake down there, Barnard Beverly Road.
Took the road, didn't it?
It's still going over about like that, but I'm sure we're
Did
gonna
that- Did the fact that they had that got out change the flow of the water?
that's what I kept trying to look and see if I could tell. It's kinda hard to tell whether, I'm sure it had some effect on it with that pipeline across there. I'm sure it changed it.
Right there at the bridge, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, there's east of my house there where the pipeline's going across.
There's a lot of water.
Kinda hard to tell, they got pipes strung out down through there, it's all underwater.
They're replacing quite a bit of pipe up there. aren't they?
Yeah, it must be probably close to a mile through there, I suppose.
That's a pretty good
See,
pipe.
it's down this morning, out in the back, out in the bank, isn't it?
Yeah, it back in the bank, I think it was 20.
It stay full for a month.
Yeah, well, I told Johnny yesterday, I'm sure it's down here on the bottom there where they're going through. I've seen it stay over that field down there when I was farming that for a month. All these watersheds up above start draining down and it won't get back down into the banks for a month. So hopefully it'll get down off the road and I think we're really gonna have a problem rebuilding that in there. It's really washed it bad. I was visiting with Elisa down there yesterday morning. She said, the boy said that maximum we can have is, we've got that line shut off of gas, maximum we can have is 45 days. Because it feeds Chicago.
Oh.
And no way in 45 days are they gonna have this done. Because our permit we signed was for 30 days on the road there, 1st of May till the end of May. And they've got a long ways to go now with this mess, so I don't know what they're gonna do.
So can we reroute traffic there at Shirley's to around to Barnard the other way?
Yeah, they're coming around
That's,
by my place there, around there.
That road's
Yeah,
not
it's not, it got up on it just about out on the shoulder, about that far as the most it ever got on it. So, yeah, all traffic's gotta come that way now. I got boys down here on the county line down here off 18 there, off the county line there from the river bridge back around through there. it was going over the road about like that Saturday when I was down there. So they were going down there and take a look and see what it's done, whether it's off of it or not. Part of it came from Table Rock, and I think part of it might have been jumping out of the river somewhere, because I think there's too much water there for just Table Rock Creek to be flooding it like it was. So.
Does anybody live in that house down there, reference?
Yeah, I don't know who it is for sure. But the water wasn't too bad there. It was going over the road there, but it wasn't too bad up around the house or anything. That's the reason I made it on down north. It made me think it might, part of it had been coming from out of the river somewhere a little bit. From that. So, like I say, other than all that, I just don't have a whole lot to really tell you guys. I was out there last week once. Well, we'll get out and try to get some gravel in some of these worst places on the Westfall deal down here at washed away and stuff. And they say, well, it's going to rain 4 inches over the weekend. Well, let's just wait. Well, it's all over the road down there, so it would have been gone if we had gravelled it. So hopefully it'll shut off one of these days and let us try to get some of this caught up.
You hope it will.
Yeah.
It always does.
It'll probably quit one of these days and I wish it'd rain.
I hope I don't hear anyone say that for a while.
Yeah.
Did they ever say anything about redoing that dam up there in that pasture to stop that water, or are we gonna?
Michael and I was talking about that. He's talked with everybody, and there's nothing that we can do unless the landowner wants to.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. I didn't know what they were
I don't know.
making any mention to do it. I hate to spend a lot of money there on the road if they're gonna put that dam back in.
Yeah.
But if it does, we're probably gonna have to do something different there at that road.
Yeah, like I say, I don't know. He's talking to conservation people and everybody about it, but they say there's nothing they can do, so.
He
Just-
told me that it sounded like that they can't force the landowners to fix it, and the landowners aren't interested in repairing it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
They're not interested, you said?
Yeah,
Whose land are you talking about?
what's that?
Whose land are you talking about?
The Hellers.
Hellers.
Lauren Heller.
I think it's the main one there. So, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, try to fix up what we can and hope if it don't, we'll have to try to go in and put a different pipe or something in there. 99% of the time it's fine, but just one of these deals and it's
Yeah.
back over again because it won't control it.
Kenny, what about your road graders, cats? Are
Uh,
they making any progress?
They're back going again. They got them straightened out. They didn't have enough consumption that they thought they should take it in and overhaul it. So they're going to try to run it some more and see how it comes here later on. On Ron's grader, they said that they changed the oil, put a different type of oil or something, and he said it don't seem to be using the oil it was, so maybe they'll try that on the other one now and get it seated in and solve that problem, we hope.
Is that a new one that you're speaking of?
Yeah, it's about a year old now, but
What happened to the one that there was some kind of foreign substance, water in the oil or something like that?
they just serviced it here 2 weeks ago and they got the sample back, I think it was Thursday. No problems, it's all good. So we're gonna mark it off the list now and concentrate on some of these older ones there on the, putting them up for sale and ever get to John Deere's.
That was the Komatsu, wasn't it? Was that the Komatsu that was getting?
Yeah, it was Komatsu, it had water sample, antifreeze in the oil, but I think it must have just been some little deal, maybe it was on their test tube or something that had a little drop in it that showed up, so. And I don't know as far as, I know Michael hadn't said anything about hearing any more from John Deere on, last I knew, maybe next month, but they might get them here, but I don't know. Wait and see, I guess.
You got anything, Terry?
Bob, I think Deborah forgot Lance Wolting.
What's that?
I think Deborah forgot Lance Wolting. They haven't approved him yet, so you wanna ask?
No, we sat down and changed him, approved him, switching over yet.
Are you ready to do that, or,
Yeah, we're getting, I think,
okay,
want to try to go ahead and do that, I think,
okay,
because
so Lance,
where Dalton's gonna stay here, we'll put him out there
okay,
for now anyway, so.
okay. So Lance Wolting was a motor grader operator, and they're going to move him into the shop to be a maintenance / mechanic / I'm not sure what we call them officially.
Yeah, I don't know, we're kind of debating on changing that around, the wording on that a little bit.
Yeah.
More maintenance instead of mechanic or type deal.
And with him coming into the shop, then he also should get a 50-cent increase, because the shop people make a little bit more than the regular operators.
You're ready to
so.
approve that? It's a done deal.
Yeah, I think it
I
is.
think we can, and Michael and I was gonna discuss it a little more, but I think it's fine. I think we pretty much agreed to go ahead with it, but.
Okay, that's the last I had heard as well, and that they officially moved him in on the 8th of May. So, what we'll do, because it is a pay increase, is we'll split his time. Normally, we don't do that until, we make raises effective on the pay periods, but with that, him coming in, we'll actually do it on the day that it occurs. So.
Is he a mechanic?
Yeah, I don't know, he went to Votech, but I think he took air conditioning and stuff like that up there, but I don't think but he does a lot of mechanic work. He comes in there a lot of times on rainy days and starts in and helps them, and been real good at fixing stuff and working on stuff.
He's got the aptitude for it.
Yeah, he likes doing that, and he knows what he's doing, so.
Have we ever considered putting a mechanic in there that has schooling for it?
Jarrett went to Votech, that's where he started, is kind of like Dalton is, kind of internship there, and stayed with it from.
Jared, I thought, is he the one that had he studied antique tractors or something, I think?
No.
No, I don't
Was that the other
He's a diesel
person that
mechanic.
just came out of the shop, or?
He was a diesel mechanic as well.
He was diesel, so, no, I don't know, was it antique?
We've inquired with Votex and stuff around about the possibility of hiring someone out of Votech, but our pay rate isn't equal to what they could get in those shops, so.
Yeah, well, Michael and I have talked about this, and he said KAC officials are kind of talking a little about maybe trying to set up some kind of a scholarship deal through the KAC Association to put somebody through school and get them to come back, some sort of deal like that.
The problem,
We've talked a little bit about that here at a different time or two, I think, about paying somebody's tuition if they come back and work for so long a period or whatever. But
What does Lance do now?
he was running the blade.
problem with a lot of the new equipment is the computer stuff you have to have to work on. It's proprietary, so you can't even access it, so.
Yeah.
CAT owns it, John Deere owns it, they
Yeah.
don't provide it to you, so.
Yeah.
Other than the equipment, electronically controlled mechanisms that we send back to the manufacturer, what else are we subletting out, contracting for maintenance?
Well, we've been letting some of our gravel trucks or diesel trucks and stuff like that, we have problem coming down here to, mechanic down here in town there. uh, yeah.
Usually just the heavy mechanical work.
Yeah, just the heavy diesel mechanic type stuff that, we don't have the equipment to do there. That, yeah. But he's been real good to get our stuff in and get it fixed and back out real quick, and instead of having to take it to Hayes or Salina or somewhere to have them work on and wait on them to get it in line to get serviced.
So you're saying it's just a matter of us not having the equipment to work on the equipment?
Some of it, yeah, we don't have all the test equipment and special tools. Each, like Mac has special wrenches and tools to adjust this and take this apart and stuff that we can't keep up with all the time. Keep all that different stuff on hand. So, it's easier just when we do come across that problem, run it down here and have them work with it. They've got the equipment and know-how to do that.
Have we ever considered contracting out all mechanical maintenance?
Oh, I don't think we ever have really that involved. Mainly just like say the stuff that we haven't been able to do in-house, we've let go out. Because like say the specialized stuff it has to have to work on them. And now it's getting even more so with all the electronic stuff, every newer equipment we keep getting. We can't afford to buy all that stuff. We can't get the people to work it. They've got the skill to do that. They're off with Caterpillar or Mac or Kenworth or somewhere else. They can get twice the money they can here, so.
Do you think that same person who gets that education and goes to Mac, let's say, do you think they could handle the workload here?
Oh, more than likely, because there's really not that much, but like I said,
So have we ever considered consolidating from 2 jobs to 1 and paying that person a commensurate amount to what they would make if they went to one of those facilities?
oh, I don't think we really have done that because there's too many other things involved. We got all the other equipment, like all our mower tractors and our excavators and backhoes and everything that we can pretty much all do in-house here except for a few things. So it pretty well keeps them busy keeping up on that kind of equipment. So, it may come to that point, like say, as we get more and more newer equipment around, that we'll have to maybe consider something like that. But right now, I think we're pretty good going the way we are. I think we're further ahead probably. So, I guess.
Anything else? We haven't acted on that, have we? Did we act on Lance? We
No,
did,
we
did we?
haven't. I would move Lance to the shop, 50% pay increase.
1355. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Any discussion?
I guess I'm just a little concerned if you said that you and Michael were gonna discuss it more.
Well, it wasn't anything real definite. We just kind of wanted to talk, see. We was kind of waiting to see where we went with Dalton here, how that was going to come out before we said yes. This is the way we want to go, but because we were pretty sure he was going to stay and work this summer and stuff. But we kind of wanted to make sure that was going to work out okay for him before we took him off the blade and put him in the shop permanent.
If Lance had schooling, for mechanics, why wasn't he hired as a mechanic, just out of curiosity, why he was hired as a heavy equipment operator?
Well, at that time, that was hard before I come back here, but they had the mechanics in the shop there, had people in there at that time and wasn't looking for anybody, and they were looking for a blade operator, and that's kind of what he wanted to do at that time, so.
Did we get applications coming in? I saw there was an ad in the paper for this position. Did we get applications, or?
I think I didn't ask Deborah, I think they had a couple other applications, I think.
We also open it up to current employees too. So.
So.
Did he fill out an application?
Yeah, I think so.
Lance filled out an application for it because he
Yeah.
wanted to do it?
Yeah. So usually if there's somebody in the house, we like to give them the opportunity to move up or whatever they want to do if they can before we take somebody off the street out here, you might say, to fill the position. Unless there's really some really higher qualifications than who we've got.
That's what I'm wondering. I guess I feel like I don't have enough information to know if you had 3 applicants, I don't know who they are. And
Yeah.
so I guess if it's just a matter of someone wanting something different, I don't know if that constitutes not looking at all the options. That's just my personal opinion about looking at it from an outside. I understand if he's worked for you and you trust him that you want him to stay, but maybe he's a really good blade operator and we need him.
Well, he does do a good job. He has some things he needs to learn too on the blade. Everybody always has that problem too. But yeah, but he's wanting to go. I think he kind of is a little bit tired of running the blade out there. I think he maybe. I don't know how to say it, gets a little bored out there by himself all day long, and he'd rather be in doing something with some other people around. I think he's more that type of person. That he'd rather work in there doing something like that. But he can do a good job, and he has been doing good on the blade. And everything works. There's a possibility he might switch back around sometime too, you never know.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion is carried.
Okay.
Anything else, Bob?
I don't think I've got anything else right now to know of. All right. You people don't have anything else? I guess we'll
I don't
get
have
out of
anything.
there.
You have anything, Alexis?
Nope.
Wet roads, but they're all over us.
Yeah.
I think there's a cloud just kind of hanging over your head there.
Yeah, this morning when I first started sending guys out, there wasn't nothing, and then next thing you know, the whole county was covered with showers again, and just like that, so. It's,
I would recess for 15 minutes.
Mary asked if she could be on the agenda, so I placed her on it today.
I'll revisit some of that old business since we have another gap. Dawn, you had expressed concern earlier that the statute doesn't say that there is a requirement of presence of the county attorney, which is true, but the statute KSA 19-1702 says that the county attorney shall, without fee or reward, give those opinions and advice. Now, the discrepancy that was brought up was, whether or not she was going to come regularly to the meetings. And I read earlier the letter that she wrote, which said that she would be willing to do so if she was asked. Thusly, I made the motion. So I think what we're really looking at here is, when I said that we were given the wrong information, it was that we were told that if she was going to come or going to be available, that it would be compensated financially. But actually the statute requires that there is the advice given without fee or reward. And there has been a lot of email correspondence, and this has been the typical way, and I am satisfied with that. However, we cannot have a meeting of the commissioners outside of a public meeting. So in order for us to have a discussion with our council present, it would have to be at a public meeting. And that is why I have made the motion to ask for her presence, physical presence, so that we can actually discuss between the three people. We are not even supposed to email between one another, which we have not, but we are allowed to jointly receive an email from our council. But you can't necessarily have a meeting like that. So, it is a point of concern that we have a one-way communication, and that would be the reason that I requested the physical presence. Now, the advice isn't a request, it's actually a state mandate. And I believe that discussion prior, a few weeks ago, was basically saying that, our county does not hire a separate council. So this is all that we have access to. And if we're not going to utilize it, then I think we are failing as a commission to do our job. It's not her job to make sure that we're doing our job, it's her job to do what we ask. So that is why, just so everyone knows, that's why I've asked personally, because I feel that it's important. And Dawn, I believe the terminology that I used was, you're saying that she's doing that, or I asked you if you were saying that she's serving as county councilor just out of her own generosity or the goodness of her heart, and you said yes. And I did ask the commission if they were aware of these other statutes, and they said no.
You're very good at putting words into my mouth, so.
Well, I'm sure it's on video.
Oh, I'm sure, again, but I'm sure that you also just added words into my mouth. All I was talking about was the presence and the fact that you would need to consider compensating her if you were going to require her to attend every single meeting. That was what I was discussing, nothing more, nothing less.
Well, thank you for bringing it to our attention again under old business. I do appreciate that we thoroughly discuss things. I think that is something that has been lacking. I will also move to seek county counsel on the web fund conflict of interest so that that is done in a public session. It was asked privately before in an executive session, which is not privileged information because it has nothing to do with anyone's personal, restricted, confidential credentials.
Are you wanting all of that in the motion?
No, that was just my explanation to them.
Okay.
I move to seek county counsel regarding web fund conflict of interest.
I believe we already asked her to provide an opinion on it.
We did.
Apparently she's still researching it.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? You have the letter from the county attorney on conflict of interest, Alexa, with you? I don't have mine.
I have the one regarding Lincoln Park Manor. That was the only one that I received. If you had a different.
Yeah, I know, that's the only one I received.
Okay.
It dealt with conflict of interest, right?
It was
It dealt
stating,
with conflict of interest, right?
I'll be glad to read it. Yes, it did. It was
Okay.
entitled
Okay.
Conflict of Interest.
Would you please, yeah, I would like for you to read it.
Sure.
Excuse me.
Dear Board of County Commissioners, attached is a letter for your review. Thank you, Jennifer O'Hare, Lincoln County Attorney. I'm sorry, I have to open that too. This was dated from May 5th. You have requested a legal opinion on the following question. If a commissioner is a power of attorney for a person who resides at a local nursing home, does that constitute a conflict of interest? And if so, is that commissioner prevented from voting on issues regarding the nursing home? And she quotes Kansas state statute. A conflict of interest occurs when this is not the statute, excuse me. A conflict of interest occurs when an individual acting in his capacity as a public employee participates in the making of a contract with a business in which the individual has a substantial interest. Kansas statutes addressing conflict of interest are located in KSA 75-4301, KSA 75-4304. And she says that it states in part, so this wouldn't be the whole thing, you'd have to look it up, but she says it states in part A, B, C, D, and E. A, no local government officer or employee shall in the capacity of such an officer or employee make or participate in the making of a contract with any person or business by which the officer or employee is employed, or in whose business the officer or employee has a substantial interest. B, no person shall enter into any contract where any local government officer or employee acting in that capacity is a signatory to or a participant in the making of the contract and is employed by or has substantial interest in the person or business. A local government officer or employee does not make or participate in the making of a contract in the officer if the officer or employee abstains from any action in regard to the contract. This section shall not apply to the following: contracts let after competitive bidding has been advertised for by published notice, and contracts for property or services for which the price is or rate is fixed by law. Any local government officer or employee who is convicted of violating this section shall forfeit the office or employment. And she goes on to say, in this case, I do not believe that the commissioner in question has a substantial interest which would trigger a conflict of interest pursuant to Kansas statute. He volunteers his services to the individual and not the business. The mere appearance of a conflict is insufficient to meet the requisite standard in this matter. Thank you for your attention. Signed from our county attorney.
So I think, my understanding is that if you have a financial interest, that you would be in conflict of interest, and I guess I would say that I'm not sure that a commissioner has a financial interest in anything that has come before the web board. Therefore, I see it's a little hard to have a conflict of interest. As saying that, I will call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. She will provide.
I didn't vote.
Mary, it's 10 o'clock.
Yes. For the last couple of years, I've been mowing the ditch out in front of our property, just taking care so it looks nice. And there's an additional part of the ditch along the county road that I would like to mow with my goats using this type of fencing. This is what I use in my business. It's a temporary fencing. I had it up this weekend. Alexis, when she came by taking pictures, she saw it. I didn't go clear out to the road with it, but I'd like to go out to the edge of the road in this section because it is a dirt section, it's not gravelled, and just mow that east of the driveways for the length of the property, and I'm not sure how wide, what the footage is on that. But I'm trying to get the place cleaned up a little bit, look a little more presentable, and I'd like to get that ditch cleaned out. So when they, a couple years ago, when they the county guys cut the trees down, there's still some stumps and stuff I want to get cleaned up. So when I turn this thing into a guest farm, I kind of want it to look a little nicer than what it does. And right now the broom's about that tall. My goats can mow it down probably in a day, day and a half or something like that. It'd look a lot nicer. That way I can get things cleaned up. And it would also allow for the water to drain a little bit easier with all the water that's been going on. The tall grass in there does slow the flow of the water.
It's a temporary fence.
It's a
not
temporary fence. I'm not going to put it up forever. It's just going to be a day or so because I've already, Alexis saw what I put up. They've already mowed that area down. It's, I mean, there's stems there, but it's nice to where the grass can flow, water can flow.
Does,
And I'm going to be there the whole time because the goats are there when I'm there.
but it's on it's bordering the property that you
Yeah,
rent.
it's in front of the property. It's on the road side of the barbed wire fence. And I'd like to just be able to, I mean, a lot of people I know out in the country, they mow the ditch to so it looks nice. I'd like to mow that along there with my goats just to make it look nicer and so I can get it cleaned up because if I start getting people in there to do stargazing and stuff, I kind of want that area to kind of look nice because that's the field that they're going to be using to stargaze with. But it probably wouldn't be more than 24 hours that the fence would be up.
My concern would be night.
They'll be inside.
Now, my concern about the fence is night.
Yeah, it is high visible, but I can take it down. It's that easy to put up and put down. And that part of the road is dirt, so there is very little traffic too. So during the day, it's not going to be that much of a problem unless we got people going up there mudding, and it's but I mean I can take
Is
it
there
down.
a way you could do part of it one day and part of it the next and not have them out there at night?
They won't be out there at night.
They won't be out there
They
at
won't
night?
be out there at night, and I can take the fence down at night. It's that easy to put up. And it'd just be in front of from the property line on the east side to the east driveway that I have there. And I'm not even sure if that's not a quarter of a mile, I don't think.
I guess I don't have a problem trying it once and see, make sure it's gonna have an issue.
Yeah. So, okay. But
I guess
I just want to make sure,
Michael O'Hare visited with us about allowing use of the county right-of-way the other week ago, I believe. And
well, that's why I'm asking.
there are some problems.
Yeah.
You know, not only farming, putting things along the right-of-way, mailboxes. I guess
It just would be just a short time.
I know, and I really don't have any problem with it other than liability and getting something started in this county that we can't stop. You know, I let you do that. What about the next guy that wants to put up an electric fence to graze his ditch with his cows? You know, I know it happens. You know, but I have a little trouble giving permission for it. And other than it happening without my permission. Because if I give permission to it, I take my liability.
That's why
you know,
I'm
I
asking.
give the county the liability. I don't have any problem with it, other than I'm not going to say yes.
Well, it's just.
If you do it without me knowing it, I probably can. I'll never know it, will I? But
Well,
if
I don't
I
have
sit
time,
here and
yeah.
say, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Are
You
we
know?
currently allowing landowners to mow the ditch?
Yeah, mow.
Well, yes and no. I mean,
There's no paperwork on it, is what you're saying?
there's no paperwork on it, and we don't as a commission say,
Give
you
permission.
give permission. You know,
They just mow it.
they just mow it, you know. But if we ever, if something ever happens and we have an accident, there's gonna be a lawsuit. Now, are we going to be liable? I don't know, you know, because we didn't give permission. They were out there doing it themselves, you know. Lawyers like to make money. That's it, you know. So I guess, I don't know, Mary. I think we probably need
Well,
some
and
counsel. I think we probably need to.
I do carry liability insurance for.
I know you do.
For, you know, anything my goats do. But I just, you know, I wanted to come and talk to you. Because I always do out in front, I either tie my horse out to where he can reach to the edge of the road and mow that way. And then, since it's gotten so tall, you know, the goats can do a much better job about mowing. And I just want an aesthetic look
I
to the
understand
property.
that.
And
You know.
that's why I came to you guys to ask.
I,
Because it's just
if
one
you
of
were
those.
mowing it, I probably wouldn't have as big a problem.
I can't mow it with any machine right now because I don't know what's in the ditch.
I know, I realize it.
And I've
But-
got, you know, so.
This morning on the news, there was a woman killed down by Dodge City. She hit a bull. Now, there's gonna be some lawsuits, I'll guarantee you, because I think there's 4 other people in the car hurt. I've been involved in those too.
And that's
Whoever has the deepest pockets usually gets hit. We have the deepest pockets, they think, you know, so.
This is just one of those things that I would like to do.
Yeah, I know, I
And
know.
they do a pretty good job of cleaning it up, so.
I'm not gonna give you my permission.
I guess I would say I'm not gonna drive up there and see if you did or you didn't, but
Because it's gonna be a couple of days, or it'll probably be later in the week,
I think
maybe.
I'll-
I'm not gonna tell you exact time frame because I don't know.
I think I'll just probably ride on the granting permission side of it.
If I'm just, you know, and it's not gonna be for any length of time. It's just a matter of getting them out there and getting them mowed down. And it's just like anything else. If I was to mow it with a push mower, it'd probably take more time than what it would for the goats. So I just wanted to, you know, it's an aesthetic thing because I do know I have to pick up a lot of remaining trees that were cut down several years ago out there. And I just want I want the ditch to be able to drain properly because it's having a hard time keeping up as it is. And if I keep it mowed with the goats, that would allow for the drainage to be a lot easier, a lot smoother, so it wouldn't run through the pasture and across.
You wouldn't be the first person to put a fence up.
Well,
on the
I
right
just
of way.
wanted to get, you know, it's just a matter of I'm trying to let you guys know that I would like to do this to make it look better and to help the drainage, so.
I guess the minutes need to show that I did not, as commissioner, do not give permission. And I don't know, I guess if the other 2 are gonna have to talk for themselves, but.
I don't think we didn't do a formal granting of permission.
Mary, have you been contracted by any government entity to do anything with your goats?
Yes, I have. The city of Ellsworth contracted me to do several different places there in the city of Ellsworth, and the city of Salina did have me working on the River Witch Nature Area, which was mainly poison ivy control.
Just out of curiosity, I thought you had said that in one of your presentations, but.
Yes.
Did they do a formal contract with you?
We did a verbal contract, and I'm still, I talked to Ellsworth, they don't, and it was kind of a pilot program for that down there. I still haven't, they changed head of departments for the recreation parks, and that gentleman has not called me back yet because he's in training to talk about renewal of the River Woods Nature Area to do the poison ivy control.
of spending the $750,000 for the generator, have you guys just considered just selling the building to John Grace?
The generator was about 150, am I wrong? 150 to
150,
200,000.
170, I can't remember.
The $700,000 number that you're thinking of was the total amount under the projection for the cost for the electrical work.
Okay, well, either way, the $150,000 or whatever, would it be plausible just to sell the building to John Grace and make money out of it?
Why would you want a building that doesn't meet code?
These things are pretty loaded. It seems like he's a
I
great
hope I
businessman.
did not hear you say that.
It was-
I hope I
it
did
was
not
a
hear
joke, I'm
you
sorry,
say
it
that.
came out right.
I can personally say that John Grace has expressed interest in ownership. Not at this current time due to the fact that we're negotiating a lease situation, but I'm also unaware if the financial, or if the paperwork and the financial transaction has happened to where he now is the main shareholder, I'll call it, of Lincoln Park Manor. Because the business itself did not dissolve, it was purchased out by him, according to what we were told was going to happen. I can't say that that did happen, but that's what was on the table as far as what we discussed.
You said the building in question was not in code, is that correct?
It has some deficiencies, yes, to operate as a nursing home.
That something has to be brought up, period, at some point, by whoever has it,
Yeah, those issues would have to be addressed, yes.
even if it stays with the current owner.
What we were talking about earlier is there's going to be a new standard that you must have a generator. And I think they said November, is that what you said?
I believe
He
that's
thought that was
correct.
the deadline, so that's what would put the building in jeopardy at this point of,
No, gotcha. More power you can hold.
they have to have a backup system due to probably health conditions, people maybe needing to be on oxygen and things like that that have to have electricity, and if you didn't have an option for them, it puts them and their health in immediate jeopardy is the terminology used by CMS.
There's also standards for how cold or hot it can get in the building, power outages.
Yeah.
A few summers ago, when the electricity went down here in town, I think they got within 1 degree there in the home that we would have to evacuate the residents because you can't have them in a condition that's, I'm gonna say 8 and 5. I don't remember what the degree was, but there is a temperature. There is some temperature regulations there.
So is the current wiring not capable of withstanding a generator?
My understanding, there's some problems to get the system to work, number one, because it was built in 3 sections, you know, tying the wiring together. And it was much more extensive than we thought when we looked into that about 10 years ago probably. Well, maybe not quite 10, 8, 9 years ago, we looked into it, had a electrical engineer here on site go through it, and at that point, we didn't have that kind of money to put in it. So we've kind of just been putting money back to buy a generator. And
How did they get to 2012? 12 was hot.
well, evidently the air conditioners ran, and we didn't. We had
Power
electricity.
outage.
Yeah, we had electricity.
Is Lincoln Park Manor on the grid for the city?
Yes.
Yes.
Don't they have their own backup?
Yeah, but
Electricity.
lines go down inside the city. We're fortunate that we usually don't lose power for an extended period of time because they've done a good job through the years of setting up to where they can reroute power from different directions, but it does occasionally happen.
That is true, we've been really lucky. Since I've lived here, we have not had, maybe the longest was 30 minutes without power, and that's because we had some awful winds with it, and, I mean, there was damage everywhere.
But the possibility is always there.
Oh, yeah, it's always there, but we do, I mean, they do get out and they do what they need to do. I mean, and they do it quickly, so.
On this power grid rerouting, I've worked in the power line industry for years. This rerouting is not a fail-safe system. You can have a generator system backup. That is not a fail-safe system. This has already happened and it's going to happen again. Substations can be taken out of commission. The one in San Jose, California was down for 27 days before they could bring it back online. So you're going to have enough fuel for this backup generator to last 30 days, 60 days?
I don't know if there's a requirement attached to that with the state as far as having one, and then what is the capacity for it to
Well, this
be
is-
self-sufficient? I don't know.
It's not possible.
I don't think they quit making diesel fuel. So I think it's just a matter of hauling diesel fuel to the generator, so.
Or natural gas, it depends on how they hook it up.
You know, I'm up there about twice a week to do hair, and they like it warm. I about suffer. But they wear sweaters year round. So they don't really like the air conditioning as much as I do. They're cold. You can't even hardly open a window and they feel the draft. This getting old isn't fun. You're still a young chicken. You're a young chicken.
I ain't no chicken.
Come on in, Jennifer.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
We're ready anytime you are, yes.
I would request when we do go into executive session that we go back up to our room because the last time we had an executive session in here, the noise in the hallway, the sound carried through so much that it was difficult to talk in here, so. If no one has an objection to that.
Okay, Alexis, did you have some questions with those?
I had a question. Did you print out the new lease? Because I am missing.
Yes, I have brought that with us
The
today.
missing
If we would like
portion?
to discuss that.
Was there a missing page? Because I don't know how that happened unless it was my own error.
I
but-
have 1 through 6 with me today.
Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. I found it. It was on the back side. Sorry.
So if we would like to discuss specific changes or portions of that, would you like to go into executive session to do that, Commission?
If we're gonna get specific on the contract, yes.
We'll
Okay.
have to.
Or whenever
Do
you'd
you
like
have
to make that
anything else?
motion.
Do you have anything, Alexis, before we go in?
I have a few public questions that we can discuss. Has the county done a credit check on the new applicant for the lease?
I have not done one, nor have I been requested to do anything like that.
Okay, have we done a background check?
I have not been requested to do anything like that.
I'm not,
so-
this isn't accusatory toward you, I'm
No,
asking
I'm not
specifically.
taking it as that.
I've done some research on my own.
Okay.
Okay, and do we have any financial documents for assessment before we assign this lease? Have we received, has the county received any financial documents from the leasee? I'm not even sure who that is at this point. Do we have confirmation that the business has been sold?
I have discussed that with Mr. Krangle last week, and I also discussed it this morning. He was going to be available for us if we had any further questions on that. I asked him that very question because on the lease agreement, Ms. Robinson is still in a position to sign. Apparently, she is the owner-president still of Lincoln Park Manor, so she is in a position to be able to bind them per his conversation with me this morning.
So, no would be the short answer. No, it's not sold.
I'm just relaying what he told me this morning. And I told him to be available if the commission would like to meet with him prior to the 11 o'clock session, and he can be available.
Okay. And are we to be under the impression as the commission that the public can make effort to force us to collect any back due debts through petition and or filing lawsuit?
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're talking about.
Can the commission be forced to seek rent in arrears
Forced by who?
by public filing lawsuit?
I guess if the public wants to file a lawsuit on that, I guess we'll figure that out when that happens.
Or petition?
I don't know.
Okay. And can we consider multiple options for the length of the lease based on these unanswered questions?
Oh, absolutely. You guys can choose whatever you want on that option, if they're willing to do so. I mean, I think it's at a 3-year at this point, which, again, that's up to you guys as to whether or not, you three, as to whether or not you're okay with that.
And I would just like to express a little bit of concern that if we sign a lease that potentially can be transferred to any other entity, if the purpose of the commission maintaining ownership of the facility is to have some sort of oversight on quality care, which is what was stated, I'm concerned about signing anything that would allow the transfer of the business under our lease agreement with the particular current and or upcoming leasee, if that makes any sense. I can re-explain it if you want, but basically I'm saying if we sign a lease and it is with John Grace and he sells his company, that would not adhere to the comments that I've heard about wanting the county to have some sort of oversight. So that is a concern of mine. Everything else I have, I think, would be in the contract itself.
I'd move to enter executive session for 30 minutes.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Jennifer and Dawn.
And we're going upstairs?
Good.
Okay.
I would prefer to go upstairs.
Any discussion?
My question would be including someone who did not have input as of the last meeting. I'm not sure the purpose, if we're not to be divulging information outside of the sources. I'm not sure why we would need anyone except for our council.
The motion is for 30 minutes, exec session with council and with clerk. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion is carried. We go into exec 30 minutes. That will start at 10:30. We will end at 11 o'clock. Ready? Are you ready, Don? Okay, we will come back into session. Commission, we've been in exec session meeting with our lawyer and the county clerk on a lease agreement for the rest home known as Lincoln Park Manor. I think the first thing that commissioners need a clarification on is the ownership of Lincoln Park Manor. We were under the assumption a couple weeks ago that that business would be sold and that Mr. Grace would become owner of that, and according to the contract, that is not true. Can you please comment on that?
The ownership has not changed. It's owned by Christen and Justin right now, but they have an agreement in principle with Mr. Grace that he will, if the lease is extended, he will certainly buy the stock. They're both here. They're both willing to sign the lease on behalf of Lincoln Park Manor. There's no other name, there's no other corporation involved at this time to go into a lease with the county.
I believe the county commission will have some problems with that. We may need to go back into exec session and include you in that. That is one area that the commissioners feel is a problem.
That's fine.
Do you have anything else that we need to talk about now? We would, I guess, the commissioners feel that it is, since there's such a large crowd here, a lot of interest in this, if there is some of you that want to make a public statement to the commissioners at this time, we could take those, but you need to limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. So,
Joe, I have a clarification.
Yes.
When you say that you believe the commission would have a big problem, is that with the change in ownership of the Lincoln Park Manor holdings?
I would say that, I guess I'm speaking probably for myself, but it is who we are entering into a contract with. We want that to be specific, so we know exactly who we're dealing with. Okay, is there anyone else? Mr. Mantle?
Will you explain what the contract contains?
I will not at this time, since we are in negotiations.
Okay.
Yes, Sue Brown?
We, the leadership at Lincoln Park Manor, are in full support of John Grace taking over management at the
Yes, Mr. Mueller?
I can, my mother worked for the Department of Revenue. She was the first female field rep in this state. Plus, she was probably one of the first to have rest home insurance. And she went in there, and it wasn't the best conditions. And, but she abided by it. And the people that was in there were her neighbors. And she knew it. The people who were taking care of her were her neighbors. But then she passed. And then I had a friend in Wichita. And there was no personal touch down there. And I regret that. I made the trip as many times as I could. I married my lovely wife here, and her mother was in Ellsworth. She was in Salina, and we tried to take care of her the best we could. And we were running into some problems. So I contacted Sue, the management at that time. They drove to Salina, took a personal interest in us. And I was apprehensive, because I remember what the conditions was when my mother was in there. And so we made a decision. It was my wife's decision. I wasn't going to stick my nose in her family business. But we went up there. What a great decision. Everybody that was working on that staff took a personal interest in my mother-in-law. Oh, and there was people in there that was greeting you. It was my neighbors. It was 10 miles from my home. We went down there all the time, and it was great. Sue advised us on everything. I'm here to support her, 100%, 100%. And I like the idea of having a vested interest. You want to see what happens when you lose a vested interest? Look at the Vesper Co-op. That thing has went from a great little community co-op to where it's getting merged with Nebraska. We lost our filling station and everything, but that's progress. That's change, you know. I smell change in diapers, too. So, I don't like the 21st century with a lot of different things, but I got to accept it. I'm 59 years old, I'm going on 60. I ain't going to be on this earth much longer. I'll probably have a stroke. But that's the way it is. That's the way the Lord decides. But anyway, getting back to the problem at hand. Those people care up there. And they are our neighbors. Yes, maybe we privatize it and go to something else. It'll be like the Vesper Co-op. It'll roll along for 10, 15 years, and everything will be great. But then you know what? You're going to have professionals come in there. All they worry about is a 9-to-5 job. And we got all these regulations to make sure that they uphold. And they'll soft soap it. And what are you going to have? You're going to have another co-op. And I don't want that. I don't want that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brock. Anybody else? Yes, Ms. Buck?
Is there a chance that even after this lease is signed, that it's still on the table to sell the nursing home? The building?
I guess I would answer that at this question. We have bigger fish to fry at this time. We're trying to get a lease established, somebody to run that nursing home and to keep the residents there. So I think that's a question that will have to be dealt with at a later time. I think it is kind of on the back burner at this time with these other problems we have, is my opinion.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes.
comment? To address that and kind of touch back on what you were speaking of, it's that if the plans go through as far as what has been presented to the table and the public presentations and things such as this, when that project gets finished, where the greenhouses will be placed, wherever that may be, the current residents or whoever may be living there at the time would be transported over into that facility. So I think at that time would be a more appropriate consideration as far as what could be done than if we're going to continue with the plan that has been presented as of now. And so there hasn't been anything on the table as far as considering a sale of the building as is with the residents in it. And if the merger or purchase of Lincoln Park Manor takes place, it is my understanding that the new owner intends to build a separate facility and take the residents from the current facility and move them into the new structure. And if I'm wrong, please speak out. Does that make sense?
Anyone else? I would entertain a motion to go into exec session with Mr. Grace and Mr. Krangle. Do you want to include Ms. Robinson?
Yeah.
Mrs. Robinson, County Clerk, Attorney,
Okay.
and 3 commissioners. We will go in. Jennifer, 10 minutes, you think, or do we need more? 15? We'll go in. I would move that we go in for 15 minutes. We will meet in the County Commissioners room, and we will start when we get there.
Second.
Any others, questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. We will come back up here.
Is the notebook still going around with everybody?
Yeah, it's over here.
May, and what has taken place prior is either on the commissioner's table or it's gone. But we are trying to start anew. Some of you have read the paper probably from last week when Mr. Grace was at City Council meeting. I want to emphasize I was called a couple of times about comments in that article. I want to tell you that that was a City Commission meeting. It was not a county commission, nor has the county agreed to anything on the greenhouses. But that is still being discussed. This is the operation of Lincoln Park Manor as it is of today. Do either one of you have anything to say? I would move that we enter into a lease agreement with Lincoln Park Manor for 3 years with the terms of the lease agreement in front of me. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Do we have any discussion?
I have some discussion.
All right.
There has been no conclusion to where the financial responsibility rests on the debt, and replacing ownership under the same pretenses does not necessarily require commission approval, and the county is not protected from all losses in this incident. And in the previous lease, 1 year was sufficient based on terms set forth by the business owner. And we have been told that the greenhouse project will take action regardless of our current standing with the leaseholder. And there has not been any other consideration for offers of purchase, which were discussed and not brought forth in proposal, except initially. So we've had 3 different proposals to look at.
Any other? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion is carried. We will need your signature, Mr. Grace.
Here's the
Oh, okay.
I would request that 2 copies be signed so that original can be with both parties.
What will be the current starting rent?
I don't know what it will be whatever the census is.
Mr. Chairman, could I make a comment?
Just a minute.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah. Well, I think I know many of you. I just want to say that we look at this as a partnership with the county in serving the elderly. Our number one focus are the needs of the residents of the facility. Number two are the employees of the facility. It's our plan to work closely with Christen and the staff out there. I've heard from family members about their appreciation for the work that Christen and the team is doing, so I offer you my compliments. And we will continue to offer we continue to communicate with the county on issues so that we have good clarity as we go forward on all issues. And just thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, John, for stepping up. Jennifer, do you have anything that we need?
No, I don't.
Oh, we gotta get Do either of you have anything else?
We have to pay the bill for.
No, we'll pay it. We'll pay it at the end of the month when we do the payables.
Oh, we don't have to do that?
No.
Okay.
Which reminds me, Don, payroll and payables won't be ready by next Tuesday, will they? The 28th? Or 28th, it isn't the 28th, it's, I don't know what day it is.
It's the
May
29th.
29th, 30th? Everything should be ready?
We'll cross our fingers.
Okay. We will be meeting on Tuesday since Monday is a holiday, and we will not meet the last day of the month. We'll try to get payables and accounts, payroll done. So we'll meet at 8 o'clock. This commission stands adjourned until Tuesday morning.